So you may have noticed that when you go to the store, the price of meats have increased drastically. This is called inflation. Now, this past week I went out and I purchased a nice ribeye, bone-in. Now, the thing about it, it didn't have much marbleization. So I began to wonder, how can I take this mediocre steak and not just take it to the next level, but take it to the Wagyu level? Stay tuned, and I'm going to show you just how. So the first thing that I like to do is get this steak as tender as I possibly can. And what I do when I first buy a steak, I first seal it in one of these food saver packages, and this helps to aid in the next step. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this step and we're going to make it tender, just like a $200 steak that you would get in a restaurant. You will need one tool for this process. You're gonna leave your steak in the bag. And all we're gonna do, tenderize this baby. So now that we've done that, our bag is busted open. So it's no longer good or useful for the next step of my mad science tenderizing steak hack. We're gonna need to season, inject, then reseal. So the next step in this process is going to help us take this steak not to the next level, but the Wagyu level. So what we're going to do that, you can go to your friendly Amazon online store and order yourself some of this. It's Wagyu beef tallow. So now if you're not familiar with Wagyu, what that is that's basically like the most premium steak or cow that you can purchase, money can buy. And what they do is they take the fat from that cow and they put it in a jar for us. So what we're going to do for our next step is we're going to take about 2 tablespoons of this Wagyu, which at room temperature is like butter, but we're going to melt it down and then we're going to inject it into that steak. Let's do it. For this next step, you'll need another tool, an injector. If you don't have one, get one. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is cut this bad boy open. These scissors probably need to be sharpened a little bit, so please don't laugh. Okay, put that to the side, and let's pull out our steak. So as you can see, not much marbleization going on there, but it is nice and tender. Now, if you feel like, well, you know what, this could be a little more tender, you can go ahead and tenderize it a little bit more at this time. I think I would like it a little bit more tender. Okay, so now I like to kind of reform it a little bit, perhaps cut off this uneven piece of fat. I cut these myself, so they're not perfect, but it's a nice big piece of meat. So what do we do next? We take our injector. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna get that Wagyu fat out of that, and we are going to start to inject. This is the closest thing I will get to medical school. Don't press it too hard. There will be some fat that comes out, but if your steak is a little bit cool, you don't have to like bring it to room temperature. This Wagyu, once the temperature goes down a little bit, most of it will kind of like, most of it will solidify. So there you go. Okay. So now we have a steak with Wagyu fat. Get all of that nice Wagyu fat on your cutting board. Okay, now the next step is to season it. I like to use something called Kinder's Buttery. I get this from Sam's Club. It's absolutely amazing. It's the best steak seasoning that I have in my cabinet. I don't put anything else on my steak. Some people like to put salt, pepper. If you want to do that, by all means do it. If you use this, you will have the ultimate steak, not just next level. So I like to season it very generously. I'm gonna go ahead and get the sides as well. Oh yeah. Bam. Okay, so now what we want to do, again, just don't let them seasons go to waste. Soak them up. Okay. For our next step, what we're going to be doing is we're going to reseal this baby back into an airtight container. You can put it in a baggie, try to get all the air out. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to show you what I use, how I do it. And once we finish that process, then we're going to put it in sous vide. And we're gonna let it sit for about 2 hours, up to about 120, 125. I don't like to go any higher than that because after I show you my grilling process and how I like to grill the steak after it comes off of sous vide, you'll understand that grilling process is gonna take that temp up even more. I know you might have people out there who are fanatical about sous vide and the sous vide is so great and you gotta cook it to the perfect sous vide temp. I'm not worried about that for this go around. I'm gonna show you what I like to do. So I like to use a food saver for this next step to reseal my steak. So I just basically pull this out, lift this up, try to get enough for that size steak with a little bit of space in there. And then what you're gonna do is you're just gonna cut that off and stick it. We're gonna stick it in here. You're gonna hear a sound. As soon as you hear the sound, we're gonna basically click the seal. So we're gonna seal. We don't need to vacuum the bag. We just need to seal it this go around. So we're gonna seal the bag. And if you already have one of these, you know how to do this, you can basically go forward if you like. So what I like to do, I put my steak, all nice and seasoned, back in the bag. I try to give it a little bit of form, make it kind of look like it did before I tenderized it. Stick this baby back in there. And then this time, we're gonna allow for it to completely. You don't want to do this too much because once you see those juices flowing up, you want to stop it because those juices that are flowing up, a lot of that is the Wagyu fat. We don't want that going anywhere. We want that staying right there. So as soon as you see that it's completely sealed, that Wagyu fat's there, you hear the sound, that means it's done. Now we're going to take this to sous vide heaven. So now all we need to do is take our steak and put it in our sous vide bath. And I'll be putting mine on for about 2 hours. 2.5 hours or so, and I'll pull it off and then I'll show you how we're going to grill this to get this amazing sear. So now our sous vide is done, and so I'll be doing my sear on my griddle. I have a Blackstone, which I really like. The only thing that I did not like about my Blackstone, I felt like it did not get hot enough. So there's actually a constrictor or something that will constrict the amount of gas that it allows to pump through. I went ahead and ordered one off of Amazon that allowed me to control that whole entire aspect. And until that time, I've been very happy with my Blackstone. Now, there is a word of caution. They put those regulators on there for a reason. So you need to be careful if you do get this. I mean, it can really turn the flame up on your griddle and it gets really hot. But it also allows for me to get that nice sear that I want to get on my steak. I'll show you how I like to do the searing of my ribeye. Now what I like to do is I like to put my timer on my phone, and what I'll do is I'll put it on 1 minute and I'll flip. And normally I'll flip all the way to the other side so that I get a nice solid start. And as you can see, we have a nice, and again, this is really searing really well. I'm gonna turn this fire down just a tad bit. Then I like to stand it up, hold it. So as you can see, we have a real nice sear on there. And you see that bone right there? I want all of that cooked really nice. So our trusty torch comes back into play. I actually don't want to get it that close. Get all that nice flat fat rendered. Now, we're gonna take a little bit more Wagyu and just spread it on there. Make sure to turn your gas off. Oh, let's see what we got here. Not next level, the ultimate level. Oh.